5 weeks of hard work later, Cloud Fantasy Football was finally a thing over the weekend. We had some exciting games, we had some rubbish, we had some good scores, we had some low scores. Let's see how this person's team got on in comparison to everybody else's. Let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to Midweek matchups from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show, episodes 2, Premiums Prospering. And you can see from the main screen there, Salah and Saka, well, they had some scoring between themselves on Saturday, didn't they? But before we go there, just a bit of housekeeping, please. Cloud Fantasy Football finally goes live. As I tweeted on Friday, thanks to each and every one of you that has helped through supporting the game, especially FF Stuff behind the scenes. The work that fella's done has been absolutely unreal. 5 weeks ago, the sky fell in. Tonight, we see through the clouds. And yes, we have. Everything seems to have gone swimmingly, apart from a couple of little issues. Image, not Public Image Limited, but the public image of my team on TFF. We've still had people that have left their teams on private rather than public. We've even had some people that have changed their teams back to private from public. You need to leave your teams on public so we can actually read your scores for Cloud. And the other thing that people have been inquiring about is their team ID, so they can actually log into FF Stuff, the Cloud Fantasy website, and see how their team is doing. And you can see on the screen there, the one that I've shown previously, the team ID is in the address bar of the TFF website. What I've also managed to do this week is send out an email to everybody that's playing with some detail, including their TFF ID. If you didn't get the email, try in your junk box. I don't know why an email from me would go into somebody's junk, but 2 or 3 people have reported it did. So if you can't find your email, have a look there. Left of the screen, you can see the team I first put together when Cloud Fantasy Football was first devised. And as you can see, it had Onana in goal, Saliba, Romero, Dunk, Anderson, Rodri, Gross, he was obviously still with Brighton at the time, Bruno G, Smith Rowe, who was down as an Arsenal player but was mooted to be moving to Fulham, Haaland and Salah. And then in the middle of the screen is the team that I had sort of at the back end of last week, which had a few changes. Smith Rowe had become a Fulham player, so he was in. So I didn't need a Onana for the captaincy, or so I thought. So Henderson came in. I'd moved Anderson away because I got Henderson in, and then Branthwaite was in, only for us to find out later he was injured. Rodri was still there. And I'd brought in Watkins at that stage, ready for a possible single game day later in September. And then we had a bit of news that Rodri wasn't going to play this weekend, so that left me some more options for changing some team around. I brought in Gerald Quansah for Liverpool. He was mooted to start, and he did start. Unfortunately, he didn't finish. Gvardiol was my Manchester City cover. I brought in Declan Rice and Alexis McAllister, thinking they were decent bonus point potential. As you can see, 2 points from each. And then I changed my captaincy for the Friday to Muniz, who did get 1 shot on target for 1 bonus point, but only given me 6. I brought in Isak for Watkins due to the potential of the Southampton game on Saturday afternoon. Little did we know that Cher would get sent off and Newcastle would end up holding on for a 1-0 win. The captaincy on Saturday defaulted to Saliba, who had 9 points, doubling up to 18. On Sunday, both Gvardiol and Haaland had 8 points, so one of them was doubled up to 16. And on Monday, I had Romero, who had 5 points, 3 bonus for passes, and 2 for starting, doubled up to 10. So all in all, 76 points. And as you can see from the screen, overall rank of 298. Normally you'd be pleased with that, but with only 360 odd playing, 298 isn't all that. So let's have a look who is doing better than a certain host here. So top of the shop is Duncan Bailey, 131. Excellent score there. And then we have another 20 players all scoring over 104, that's none too shabby at all, really. Good going, guys. Well done, everybody. So let's have a look at some of the match centres then, so we can get a neat detail of who scored points, where, when and how. So we start with Friday night, Manchester United against Fulham, and it was 1-0 to Manchester United. Bit of a drab game by all accounts. I didn't see all of it. I saw bits and pieces, and United were fairly solid at the back. Fulham didn't really threaten at all. For United, there were tackled tiers for Martinez, Mainu and Mount, tier 1, and for Casemiro, tier 2, and shot tiers for Mount, tier 1, Bruno Fernandes, tier 3, and Zerki, tier 1. One shot on target, one goal. For Fulham, saves bonus, tier 2 for Leno, tackles for Robinson, tier 3, 8 tackles, Diop 4 for tier 2, and Iwobi tier 2, and Lukic tier 1. Passes, the only passing tier was Bassi, tier 1, and then shot tiers, Tete, who had the first points in Cloud, and Muniz for 1 point. Saturday lunchtime, it was Ipswich at home to Liverpool. I saw most of this. Ipswich very impressive in the first half. Liverpool were very impressive in the second half, I thought. Ipswich sort of started well, had quite a few moments, if not great chances, and Liverpool really didn't get going at all. They made a change at half-time. Kwanzaa was the sacrificial lamb. Johnny Slot said that he wasn't winning enough challenges, so he brought on Konate in his place. And to be fair, Liverpool did improve after the break, so maybe the manager knows more than quite a lot of people that thought Kwanzaa was harshly treated. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Salah and Jota were the main men going forward. Goal and assist for Salah. It was a beautiful pass from Trent to Salah for the Jota goal. And the second one he made, absolutely no mistake with. Tier points. Tier 1 bonus for Walton in the Ipswich goal. We only expect him to play 1 or 2 games. Muric is injured apparently, but should be back fairly soon. Tackles, tier 2 for Leif Davis, tier 1 for Twanzebe, tier 3 for captain Morsey, and tier 2 for Johnson. Tier 1 for both Greaves and Hutchinson. No passing, no surprise there for Ipswich. And Liverpool, in the tackles was Gravenberch, tier 1, Van Dijk with the passes, tier 3, Salah, tier 3 shots, and Jota, tier 1 shots, and Bradley, tier 1 shots. On to the 3 o'clock Saturday games then, starting with Arsenal 2, Wolves 0. Goals from Havertz and Saka, Saka getting an assist, and Havertz assisting Saka. So good points all round for them. Bonus points, Raya tier 1 saves. In the tackle, Saliba with tier 2, Partey tier 1. In the shots, Ben White tier 1, Odegaard and Havertz tier 1, and Saka tier 3. Nobody in the passes. Both Gabriel and Saliba on 54, so one shy of the Cloud tier 1 bonus tier. Wolves, Sarr tier 2 saves. Aït-Nouri, tier 2 tackles, and Mosquera, tier 1 tackles, and just Strand Larsen with 1 shot. Then off the bench, Kuna and Sarabia, both with 1 shot. On to Everton against Brighton, 3-0 victory for Brighton. Everton, Young was sent off, but he had made 2 tier 2 tackles. Bunam, that's what I'm going to go with. I'll do a bit of research if he gets 9 tackles again next week. So he got tier 3 on the bonus tier, and then Dye tier 1 in tackles, and just Harrison with 1 shot. That's all Everton had. Brighton, a rarity there, Steele, tier 1 passes with 55. Also in the passes, Dunk and Weefer with Tier 1, Van Heck with Tier 3. In the tackles, Weefer and Milner both Tier 2 with Matoma Tier 1. And shots, Matoma 3 shots for Tier 3 and Welbeck and Adringa Tier 1 each. And then Welbeck had a goal and an assist, Matoma a goal, Minty an assist. He went off, some discussion over concussion, but I think we've heard since that he wasn't concussed, so very much expect he'll play next week. And Adringa, who came on for Minte with a goal off the bench. And Newcastle won Southampton 0. So Cher was sent off. Newcastle conceded a lot of possession to Southampton. Pope Tier 1 saves. Joe Linton, who scored the Newcastle goal, had their only shot on target. There was no passing. I mean, really low numbers all around. The most passes was Dan Burn with 13 and Grameris with 18. So Grameris had Tier 3 tackles, and Longstaff and Murphy. Murphy made 3 tackles for Tier 1, and he was sacrificed to bring on Kraft when Cher was sent off. Southampton, big passing numbers. They had a lot of possession here. So Stevens, Bednarek, Harwood Bellis and Downs all in Tier 3. Walker-Peters in Tier 1. Armstrong, Tier 2 shots. And then Alcaraz and Archer both came off the bench and they had Tier 1 shots. Nottingham Forest against Bournemouth. 1-1 here. So goals for Chris Wood and Semenyo. Semenyo's a striker in the Cloud game. Even though Solanke has now moved on, there's a new Portuguese import for Bournemouth, who we very much expect to take his place up front, maybe even from this weekend. And in the points, so Sells with Tier 1 saves. In the tackles, Willy Bolly, Tier 2. Williams and Sangare, Tier 3. And in the shots, Bolly, Tier 1. Hudson-Odoi, Tier 2. Alanga and Wood and Awonyi, Tier 1. And then Yates, who came on for Danilo when he was injured after only 15 minutes. He had Tier 2 shots. In the nets for Bournemouth was Neto. There was some talk that Travers might play at 2.3, but it wasn't. It was Neto. He had 7 saves, so Tier 3. In the tackles, Scott, 8 tackles for Tier 3, and Uwatra, Tier 1. Hewson with Tier 1 passes. And then in the shots, Sinistera and Tavernier, Tier 1, and Semenyo with Tier 2. Then on to the TV game, West Ham against Aston Villa. I must admit I didn't see this. I was out on Saturday and I didn't catch up with Match of the Day either. So I'll just go through the stats for you. So the goals for Tielemans was an assist for Onana, and Ramsey an assist for Duran, both of them off the bench. And for West Ham, it was a Paquetá penalty. And in the tiers, no save tiers for Areola. In the tackles was Mavropanos and Rodriguez, Tier 1. Kilman in the passes, Tier 1. And then Emerson, Paquetá and Danny Ings off the bench with Tier 1 shots. And for Aston Villa, Martinez had Tier 1 saves. In the tackles, Torres, Tier 2. Cash, who went off, some talk of an injury there, but he had Tier 1 tackles. Onana, Tier 1 tackles. And Matson had 3 tackles and he only came on in the 74th minute. Nobody in the passes, and in the shots was Onana, who scored, Rogers and Duran, who also scored. So on to Sunday, Super Sunday, or maybe not so super, with Brentford v Palace opening things up. 2-1 to Brentford. Goals from Mbuemo and Wissa. Whistle with the assist for Mbemo as well. Palace goal was a Pinnock own goal, assisted at the far post by Munoz, who was quite high up for a right wing back. He was playing nearly at right wing. So those that brought Munoz in for Quansah on Sunday would have done quite well out of that. In the tiers, so Flecken in the save, 6 saves. Tackles, tier 1 for Janelt, Norgard and Sharda, and tier 3 for Collins. Nobody in the passes. In the shots, Ajer, Pinnock, Collins, Wisser and Mbemo, all tier 1 each. And for Palace, Henderson, tier 1 saves. In the tackles, Richards, tier 2, Hughes, tier 3, Wharton, tier 1, and Munoz, tier 2. In the passes, Anderson, 61, so tier 1. And in the shots, Anderson again, tier 1, Wharton, tier 2, and Eze, tier 3. Stamford Bridge, Chelsea 0, Manchester City 2. Did see most of this game. City were pretty much in second gear for a lot of it. Chelsea with a bit of huff and puff. Couple of chances, but not really threatening. City, obviously, fairly weakened side for them. There's no Foden, he was on the bench. No Grealish, coming back from injury. No Rodri, he's injured and due back. And then the English contingent at the back, Walker and Stones, they weren't there. And nor was Nathan Ake of Holland. So the goals from Haaland, assisted by David Silva, and Kovacic, who sort of waltzed through the Chelsea defence at the end. Tier points, Sanchez with tier 1 saves, although he would have been disappointed not to make tier 2. He should have saved that Kovacic's effort, really. In the tackles, Lavia and Nkunku, who went off before the hour, tier 1. Gusto with tier 2. Nobody in the passes. Cucurella was closest with 52. He went off. Again, some talk of an injury. Heard nothing since. He went off in 80 minutes. And then shots, tier 1 for each of Fernandez, Palmer and Jackson. And for City, tier 1 saves for Edison, so he had a 10-pointer. Tier 1 passes for Gvardiol and Kovacic. Tier 2 passes for Diaz and Akanji. Tier 3 tackles for Kovacic, he made 6. And then in the shots, Kovacic shot on target because he scored. Silva and Doku, and 2 shots on target for Haaland, who also had a yellow card. Then Monday Night Football, which I saw as well. Spurs off to a fast start, very good in the first half. Leicester couldn't really contain them. Spurs should have put the chances away. Plenty of opportunities that they didn't take. And in the second half, good team talk, I think, by manager at half-time by Leicester. They came out with a different attitude. The crowd got fired up. Goal scored by Jamie Vardy, far post header, and he could have had the winning goal, as it seemed. He had a shot saved by Vicario, closed down well, but Vardy of old would probably put it past the keeper into the net. So that finished 1-1. Tier points, Hermansen in goal for Leicester. He had tier 3 saves. In the tackles, Winks and Buonanotte with tier 1, and Fatawa with tier 3. Shots and Didi, tier 1, and Vardy with tier 2. Fatawa got the assist for Vardy's goal. And for Tottenham, Vicario, absolutely nothing. Udogi, tier 2 tackles. Bentancur, who went off with a head injury. He could be a concussion, tier 1. Johnson, tier 3. And Bergval, who came on in the 78th minute, he got tier 1 tackles in 12 minutes, although there was quite a bit of added time. In the passes, Van der Ven and Romero both in tier 3. And in shots, Porro, who scored, assisted by Madison, tier 1. Johnson, tier 1. Bentancur, tier 2. And Solanke had 3 presentable chances, three on target. Didn't he troubled the keeper, but he didn't trouble the sort of the edge of the net, as it were. So finished 1-1 for first Monday night football. So how about players in the game then? So high ownership, high performance. You see on the screen here 5 of the highest owned players, all of them over 20%, some of them way higher than that. So we've got Gvardiol, Saliba, Salah, Saka and Haaland. So Saka 35% owned, 13 points. Salah 32% owned, 13 points. Saliba 61% owned, 9 points. And Haaland 82% owned, 8 points. And Gvardiol 22% owned, 8 points. So all of those fairly high up in the echelons did well. The captaincies, if you had either Salah or Saka on Saturday, they were the high scorers, so either one of those would have done. Moving on up from under the radar, we've got Amadou Onana, and in a throwback to Sky Fantasy Football, he's wearing an Everton shirt, even though he's moved to Aston Villa now. He is 1% owned, he got 10 points. We have Mitoma, 0.5% owned, he got 12 points. Kovacic, nobody owns, 13 points. Havertz, 2% owned, 11 points. And Wissa, again, nobody owns, 11 points. It goes to show the strength in this game with 3 forward slots. So many of these players who used to be known as midfielders in Sky, they are now forwards. So Havertz and Wissa both performing well. Danny Welbeck was another one as well, another forward. But with only 3 slots in your team, and a lot of people have got Haaland, he was 80% owned. Those that had Salah did well out of him. A lot of people have gone for Isak. You've only got 3 there. A lot of these forwards are going to go under the radar for most of the season, I think. Of the week, 167 points, 90 of which came as captaincy points. So top scorers with 13 was Saka, Salah and Kovacic, and you would have had doubled up for Salah and Kovacic to 26 on Saturday and Sunday. Mitoma 12, Havertz 11, Welbeck 11, Porro 10, so doubled up to 20 from Monday night. Van Heck and Van Dijk with 10 each, Amadou Onana with 10, and Andre Onana with 9, who you could have had doubled up to 18 on Friday. So 167 points. So the leader, he got 78% of the maximum total available this week. So fair play. That's a very good effort. International breakup. We've only just started, but after 3 game weeks, the guys are going to be going off on international break. Only 2 fixtures left. So Arsenal have got Villa and Brighton, Villa, Arsenal and Leicester, Brighton, Man United and Arsenal, Bournemouth, Newcastle and Everton, Brentford, Liverpool and Southampton, Chelsea, Wolves and Crystal Palace, West Ham and Chelsea, Everton, Tottenham and Bournemouth, Fulham, Leicester and Ipswich, Manchester City and Fulham, Leicester, Fulham and Aston Villa, Liverpool, Brentford and Man United, Manchester City, Ipswich and West Ham, Manchester United, Brighton and Liverpool, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, Southampton and Wolves, Southampton, Nottingham Forest and Brentford, Tottenham, Everton and Newcastle, West Ham, Crystal Palace and Manchester City, and Wolves, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. So looking at the players that I have in my team, I've got 7 possible options for Saturday coming and 4 possible options for Sunday. And then the following week, after the bank holiday, before the break, I have 5 on the Saturday and 6 on the Sunday. My philosophy is usually to play it safe in these games. Even though I've got a couple of issues, the chances are, if we get news that Quansah's going to play, he's likely to stay in my team. A couple of people I'll be eyeing up. Van Heck I like, but he has Man United and Arsenal coming up. The other one is Munoz. They've got West Ham and Chelsea, so not too bad. Those people that have got good fixtures coming up, Manchester City, but can we really be sure who the players are? And only Nottingham Forest really have got an outstanding set of fixtures, you would say, with Southampton and Wolves. Do I really want a Nottingham Forest player? Chances are probably not. If you want to support the show, you will find us over on Patreon, patreon.com, Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. 2 tiers there. Basic tier, the Cumulus supporter, £2 a month, just showing your support for keeping the game going. And on the intermediate tier, £3.50 a month, Stratus Navigator. That's the one with the transfer plan spreadsheet. It's been updated today with the latest player transfers. It's got all of the fixtures up until Valentine's Day, up until Halloween. After that, I'm going to be doing an upgrade so it's more compatible with Google Sheets rather than purely based on Excel, which is what it was previously. And then finally, coming up on Friday, Friday Night Live, or not live as is the case this week, as it's bank holiday and I'm away. So that'll be on Friday, 6:45, keeping the faith. Will we be keeping these players, or will we be getting trigger happy and moving on for somebody else? So that's it for now. We'll see you on Friday. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you like what you see, please leave us a like. And if you want to subscribe to the show, please do. See you on Friday. Bye for now.